marked police cruiser, you began kicking the rear door and threatening officers, stating you wanted to fight them. You were also observed laying on your back in the rear of the police cruiser, kicking the rear window of the police cruiser aggressively. In the process of kicking the police cruiser, you damaged the rear door. You were then transported to Hartford Police Detention Center, located at 253 High Street in Hartford, Connecticut. Subsequently, you were charged with Connecticut General Statutes.
So, two quick things before we get into this and fully dissect this hearing. Number one, when you're being arrested, no matter how angry you are, your best bet is always going to be to remain cool, calm, and collected. I know how at the point in time of being put in cuffs and everything, you feel like, oh, I don't give a damn. But it's going to be easier to beat 7 charges rather than 12 of them. And as soon as you start throwing hands with the police, you now are going to be charged with strictly felonies. So that little deuce in the hey is now going to end up in Superior. Because when it comes to fighting the police, they don't play. The judge and the DA will tell you that the jurors hold no biases, and that may be true for some jurors. But if you have ever studied the laws of human nature or have just generally noticed as humans, we tend to believe any authority figure. My educated opinion would be 90% of the time in court or just in the free world, your word against the police officer's word will usually end up going one way. Okay, and now the second thing I want to speak on is a lot of people who obviously never had to wonder where the next meal is coming from, they always are the ones who have so much to say. I don't agree with committing crimes, but I also understand why a lot of these young men and women see it as their only means of survival. I used to be stuck in the same cycle of reckless thinking. Again, a lot of these people who talk down on these people, they don't really, they'll never know what it's like to live and have to deal with this stuff. Those are the ones who come from immense wealth, and it's just, I hate people who talk down on people. As someone who did everything you could possibly do and imagine in the street, I want these young men and women to hear me when I say this. Don't give up. You made it this far in the game, and this game is designed for you to lose. Imagine playing the one that's designed for you to win. Keep going.
You were observed attempting to leave the scene of a domestic dispute complaint that occurred in the rear parking lot of Connecticut. You were observed in the driver's seat of a white Infiniti. You were instructed to stay in the vehicle multiple times by Hartford Police Department's officers. You did not follow instructions given to you and exited the vehicle abruptly in a loud, argumentative, and aggressive manner. As you exited the vehicle, you were shouting at officers stating, "I know my rights," and did not have to stay in the vehicle. Your behavior was distracting officers while trying to effectively speak to the accused. You were subsequently detained and placed in the rear of a marked police cruiser. While in the rear of the marked police cruiser, you began kicking the rear door and threatening officers, stating you wanted to fight them. You were also observed laying on your back in the rear of the police cruiser, kicking the rear window of the police cruiser aggressively. In the process of kicking the police cruiser, you damaged the rear door. You were then transported to Hartford Police Detention Center, located at 2. Probable cause was found. Next court date is 8/11/2025. Bond was set at $10,000. Docket number H5, criminal mischief, first degree, guilty, sentence, unconditional discharge, sentence, and disposed of as of 9/2/2025.
So, if you heard him correctly, he said it's been disposed of. So that means he completed everything. If it's been disposed, that means it's been dismissed. It shouldn't be being brought up at parole. You're innocent until proven guilty. He was found innocent. Dismissed. Shouldn't be brought up.
And BOPP can proceed with revocation hearing.
Thank you. Submitted. So, Officer Davis, do you have any statements towards the charges at this time?
Sure. I'm just a little concerned with his actions and behaviors on the day of the arrest, and how he was acting in the rear of the police cruiser. Kicking out the rear window and acting aggressively and argumentative. I'm also concerned with the fact that he was with his brother Dennis Pipkin at the time of the arrest, who was a parole absconder at the time and was currently being looked for by our fugitive investigate.
So that's the real reason he's now been sitting for 3 months, because they had a little gripe against him because he was with somebody who was running from the law. So that's what I believe.
Investigative unit. I will add, Mr. Pipkin has always been polite and respectful with me. And I will say that for the majority of the time that I was supervising, if not all the time I was supervising him, he was working, employed full-time, taking care of his children. And I know that means a lot to him. That's all I have.
Thank you. Counsel?
I have nothing to add to the charges.
So obviously she's taking a moment to get to the finding, but in my opinion, obviously he didn't handle the situation correctly, but he may have had PTSD from being locked up before that he just snapped and lost it. Like, being locked in a cage does more to your brain, to your psyche, than people will ever realize. I think this is a young gentleman who obviously takes care of his kids, obviously is working, and he may have had a minor slip up. And you can't choose your family. Yes, he's being looked up by the Fugitive Task Force and all this and that, but you cannot choose your family. That's all I gotta say on this, but let's see what the judge has to say.
Mentioned previous, he does take great pride in taking care of his children, and he was working full time and provided me pay stubs for proof. So that's all I really have.
Thank you. Counsel?
Yes, thank you. My client is 28 years of age. He is single. He has 2 children, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. His primary support in the community is his mother, father, brother, his fiance, and her parents, who are all in the Bloomfield, Hartford area. He's a high school graduate of Buckley High School, and he attended Lincoln Tech and studied auto collision. He was in the community, I believe, for approximately 14 months. He first went out to the Open Heart Halfway House program. Then he utilized 2 reach beds and then was sponsored to his fiance's father's house. He was living with his fiance and 2 children in Bloomfield. He was also attending CRT, where he attended an evaluation for psychological evaluation as well as a drug evaluation. He was, as his PO had indicated, he was gainfully employed. He had employment working at Taylor Rental in Manchester, doing seasonal work, as well as Guidas in New Britain, where he was employed full-time. I would just note it's an unfortunate incident here. He was trying to de-escalate a situation between his brother and his brother's girlfriend. Unfortunately, he was, I think experienced some stress at the way the situation unfolded with him being placed in the back of a police cruiser. And certainly he recognizes that he did not handle that situation appropriately, but was acting out of frustration. And obviously if he could redo the situation, he would. I think the consequences are reflective of what happened in court. He received an unconditional discharge, which means that the conviction goes on his record. However, there was no additional penalty. That means that there was no incarceration or fine that was imposed as a result of that finding of guilty in that matter. He indicates to me that upon release back to parole supervision, he would like to be sponsored by, and I'm just going to correct this. Are you looking, Mr. Pipkin, are you looking to be sponsored by your fiance at the address that you previously were, or is that her father that would technically be the sponsor?
Her father.
Her father, okay. So to be sponsored by, I believe his name is Jackie Cooper. The information is contained with Spence Exhibit 1. And then he can return to his employment at Guidas, which is a full-time employment. Again, that's in New Britain. He has been in the Department of Corrections now for just under 3 months. And I would just note, according to the DIS, he has no history of community release failures. So he typically does maintain a good track record when he's released on supervision into the community. I just think this was an unfortunate situation. We would be asking that he be re-paroled at the next available date. And I appreciate P.O. Davis's comments. Those are all very true of Mr. Pipkin, as I have come to know him, that he does take pride in working, supporting his family, and being a productive member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from either side before I make my recommendation?
No.
have listened to the testimony today, and I did review all the evidence submitted. With that, Mr. Pipkin, I am recommending approval be revoked and that you serve an approximate month and about a week period of confinement. So that's with a referral date of October 16th, 2025, which is the board review date. With that, I'm going to recommend the following conditions: behavioral management program for anger management, no contact with Dennis Pipkin without parole officer's permission. I heard the information about the sponsor. Any reason Officer Davis D would want a halfway house placement stipulation also?
No, he can go back to his sponsor, Jackie Cooper. I've been to the house at least once.
Okay, all right, so just those two conditions then. So Mr. Pipkin, what happens next is that my recommendation is going to go to the board on that day, on October 16th. And on that day, they can do two things. They can either adopt it and you'll be released that day, or if for any reason they would want to see a period of confinement longer than what I've recommended, you'll be called back for a supplemental hearing to address their questions and concerns before that is imposed.
So I just want to say right away that the parole officer seems like he actually wants him to do good. So actually, I really respect that. And this kid doesn't seem like a bad kid. He seems like he's trying to get his life together, and I'm glad that he's not being railroaded. So, hey, free him. And as I always say, stay blessed and stay free.
Number 421212. Are you all set, Mr. Pipkin? Good luck to you.
Good luck, Mr. Pipkin.
Thank you, Officer Davis.